All right, hello once again, Jeff Scott of Rankin Technical College, and as part of the Rankin Technical College AWD 1000 Web Development Technologies course, I've been creating a series of video presentations based on the Mozilla Developer Network's Learn Web Development web series. And I'm in the JavaScript section, and we're under Object Basics. And the next thing that's in here is dot notation. You probably have already noticed this, that the way that you reference an object's properties and an object's methods are by using the name of the object dot the name of the method or the name of the property. All right. It says the object name here acts as the namespace. It must be entered first to access anything that's encapsulated inside of the object. Now, encapsulation is a very important term when it comes to object-oriented programming. In many ways, encapsulation means hidden. All right, so if I go back here again and I just type in right here, let's try just typing in person and hitting enter. You can see inside of the person, we've got a bunch of information in there. This information is all encapsulated inside of the person object. There it is. So it's letting us know we've got a name. So there's all the information. All right, and notice it's in alphabetic order. It's not the order that we put it in. So we've got the age, the bio, which again can be opened up, as you can see. The eye color, the gender, the greeting, which again can be opened up. The hair color, the height, the interest, which again can be opened up. The name, which can be opened up. And the weight. All right. So person is the namespace. And person dot allows us to reference anything that's inside of that namespace. It's even possible, as it says, to make the value of an object member another object. So it says here, for example, try changing the name member from this to this. We can do that. So we remove this and we replace it with this. So now we've got another object inside of our person object that's called name. And its values are name.first and name.last. So person.name.first and person.name.last should allow us to access that stuff that's in there. And that's what they're showing here. So by making that change, making that change and then going back in and saving it, and then going back over to here, if you remember previously, when we typed in person dot first name, so if we refresh now, this is going to be different. Now if I say person dot f, notice it doesn't find first name anymore or last. But if I say person dot name dot, now I can put in first, and again I get Bob. It says at this point you'll also need to go through your method code and change any instances of these to these. They're not arrays anymore. They're an object. All right. There's another way that you can access these properties. Usually you don't see it this way. That said, there's absolutely nothing wrong with doing it that way. So let's take a look at these examples just to verify that indeed they work. There, see that person age? And the other one was person first and person last. Or person name first, I guess it is. And you'll notice we still get Bob. It works. So this is the same thing as saying person dot name dot first. They both are going to give us Bob. it just is what I've come across is you see this more than 99 times out of 100 as opposed to seeing this one. But there's nothing wrong with using either of them. All right. Objects, as it says, are sometimes referred to as associative arrays. They map strings to values in the same way arrays map numbers to values. All right. So far we've only looked at retrieving or getting object members. You can also set them. So let's not even use their example. Bob just had a birthday. We're going to assume Bob just had a birthday. Can I do this? Can I say plus plus person.age? All right. Now my guess is, yeah, we have changed it. Okay. And let's say that Bob ate a lot of cake on his birthday. And he put on 5 pounds. All right. And you can see how we've reset both the age and the weight. All righty. One useful aspect of bracket notation is that it can be used to set not only member values dynamically, but names too. It says, let's say we wanted to be able to store custom types in the people data by typing in their name and value into 2 text inputs. We could get the values like this. So in other words, rather than hard coding them in, we could do something like use text boxes and grab those names. We could then add this new member name and value to the person object as shown. It says to test this out, try adding the following lines into your code. All right, just below the closing curly brace of the person object. Now, to do this, I've already got a person.height. So I'm going to go back to mine, and I'm going to remove everything that I put in here. All right. And they're saying, I think, right at the bottom of the person thing, we're supposed to add this. All right. So I've added it as they've said. And I've saved it. Oops. Now I'm going to come back to here, refresh, and again try saying person.height. And notice now it's 1.75 M. Since I've removed that other stuff, now if I come in and put in person.weight, it doesn't exist. So it's coming back and telling me that it's undefined. All right, what's this? The word this is one of the more confusing aspects of using object-oriented programming. All right, so it says you're probably wondering what this is. This is a JavaScript keyword. In fact, it's used in JavaScript. It's used in other programming languages as well, like Java, which is not the same thing as JavaScript. So it says there that this keyword refers to the current object the code is being written inside of. So in the case you see right here, this means person. It says, so why not just write person instead? When we start creating constructors, etc., this is very helpful. It always ensures that the correct values are used when a member's context changes. For example, 2 different person objects may have different names, but we want to use their own name when we say the greeting. It says, let's illustrate what we mean with a pair of simplified person objects. So I think they want us to add these. So we've got Chris, and we've got Deep T, okay? In the first case, this should say, hi, I'm Chris, And in the second case, this should say, hi, I'm Deep T. Even though, as it says, the code is exactly the same in each. All right, so let's grab it and double check. I mean, I have no doubt that this is going to work. It looks totally fine, syntactically correct, etc. So I've saved. I'm going to come back into here and I'm going to refresh. And now I'm going to put person1.greeting. Hi, I'm Chris. And if I do it again with person2.greeting, it should say, hi, I'm Deep T. Well, it'll do that after I get rid of that one. There you go. Okay. And again, we're getting undefined on both these because there's no return statement in here. Totally fine. All right. Now, as the author says, we've been using for quite a while. We have been using objects, whether you realize it or whether you don't realize it. So it says you've probably been thinking that the dot notation we've been using is very familiar. That's because we've been using it throughout the course. Virtually every time we've been working through an example that uses the built-in browser API or some kind of an object, we've been using objects. All right, and they give you an example right there. As it says, when you use a method available for the string class, that's the name of your string object dot the name of the method. And we've done other things too before, query selector, etc. All right, and these are all things I believe that are part of the browser API. So it says here, you were using methods available on an instance of the document class. For each web page loaded, an instance of document is created, called document. This instance represents the entire page's structure, content, and everything else. The same is pretty much true for any other built-in object or API that we've been using, array, math, etc. So it says, note that built-in objects and APIs don't always create object instances automatically. All right. We'll look at this in more depth and breadth of coverage later on in here. Finally, it says here, note, it is useful to think about the ways objects communicate as known as message passing. When an object needs another object to perform an action, it often sends a message to that other object using one of its methods and waits for a response, which, as it says, typically will be brought back as a return value. So there is a test your skills. I would strongly suggest you take a look at that. All right, so it says, congratulations, you've reached the end of the first JS or JavaScript objects article. This is just a beginning. So in the next article, we're going to look at object-oriented programming, or also known as OOP theory, and how OOP can be used in JavaScript. All right, so we will come back and talk about object-oriented JavaScript for beginners in just a couple minutes.